Hey, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you're watching as a Patreon patron, we thank you so much for your patronage. If you're watching on YouTube as a YouTube subscriber, thank you for your patronage. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you are able to link it to your Twitch Prime account. Amazon will pay us and we'll recognize you with a scrolling ticker at the bottom of the screen. So take a look at the bottom of the screen right now. You will see all of our Twitch Prime supporters. It's free for you if you're already paying Amazon, and they will pay us. So please follow the instructions in the show description and link your account. If you're doing none of those things, I insist you follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter, and tell me on Twitter that I shamed you into it. I will give you a shout out on Twitter. Thanks very much. Let's move on to today's question. Today's question from YouTube from Carl595. Sony announced that God of War Ragnarok will also release for PS4. When do you think Sony will focus 100% on PS5 development? That's a really great question. I mean, they cannot really ignore the PS4 until they have enough PS5s to really cover enough units that they think they can make money on a game. So they pretty much on a green light. I answered this on a prior episode. You want to sell about 3 million units, just to break even. And if you don't have more than 7 or 8 million PS5s or 10 million PS5s out there, you just can't do it. There will always be exclusives early on in the console cycle because they want people to buy the hardware. So it's chicken and egg. You've got to sell some eggs at a discount to get people to buy the chicken. And that's really what goes on the exclusives. But on bigger games that they want to, sell 20 million units, they've got to make it on old and new consoles. And truthfully, I think they'll support the PS4 through 2023, 10 years. So I think that you'll probably start to see more exclusives in 2022 and probably all exclusives in 2023. They haven't released any metrics on units sold or anything, but typically these guys launch consoles with about 5 million units on hand when they launch in November. And typically they make somewhere around 1 to 1.5 million a month. So they typically would be selling 12 to 18 million a year, and Sony's typically sells about 15. They're not even close to that. The supply is just not that good. And, obviously some was the pandemic, some was that there's been a chip shortage, but they just have not been able to sell units at any kind of rate. And then there's all sorts of issues because of COVID and now people coming back to work with ports and shipping and stuff. So I would say, they might get to 10 million by Christmas, and, then maybe 15 million by early next year. Probably when they have about 30 million consoles, they'll probably go exclusive PS5. So, again, some games may come Christmas of 2022 that'll be PS5 exclusive because they want to push the console. But I don't know what they have planned to come out. And what you're getting a lot more of is kind of remastered games for the new consoles. You can do a remastered game and a collector's edition. So they did like a year or so ago, Uncharted, the entire collector's edition, all 4 games for $60, which if you've never played Uncharted, you had to buy that. I mean, it was an incredible deal. And Microsoft did like the Halo Master Chief series, and so I think that there's a way to support the old consoles with older content remastered and bundled with other titles. But I expect that new first-party releases will be PS5 exclusive by 23 across the board, and some PS5 exclusives in 22. But it really is just a function of when do you and then Sony's never cut support. Like Microsoft discontinues old consoles, so they just stop making Xbox Ones when they come out with Xbox Series X. Sony just doesn't do that. They brag about these 10-year cycles. And my favorite story, and I've told it on Pachter Factor before, but this is true. When the PS3 came out, my housekeeper, who was from Peru, asked me if I had any PlayStation games because her boyfriend just got a PlayStation, and it was 2006. So I assumed she meant that he just got a PS2, which came out in 2000. So I bring home like a stack of PS2 games. I had tons of them, and I give her like 30 of them, and she comes back like a couple days later with the bag with 30 games in it. Says, "Oh, they don't work. He has a PS1." And I was like, oh, and he paid $49. Oh, he probably paid $29 for it used, but and I didn't even realize Sony was still selling the PS1 when the PS3 came out, but they were for $49. And I said to her, okay, keep what I just handed you, take them into GameStop and trade them in for PS1 games. So there are no new PS1 games. So I remember in 06, there were no PS1 games. I think they stopped making those around 2002 or 3. But I said, just trade it in and have him cruise the used game aisles, and he'll get traded in value. And she said he got like 70 games or 50 games or something, because which is a lifetime supply, in PS1. So again, this is kind of how Sony works and how they support their consoles. As I said before, I think they'll support PS4 till 2023. 10 years has been the norm. They really did support the PS1 till 2005, the PS2 till 2010, the PS3 till about 14 or 15. So I expect 10 years on the PS4. Okay, well, thank you for joining us on Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net for this week's episode. I really appreciate any of you who are able to support the program through a Patreon patronage, through your Patreon patronage. If you have linked your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account, you can look at your name right down at the bottom, and it is scrolling by. Thank you so much for your support. If you're watching on YouTube and you are a YouTube subscriber, thank you for your support. If not any of those things, follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. It's easy to spell. Give me a reason why you joined. Say that I shamed you into it. I will give you a shout out on Twitter. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.